The 2024 Formula 1 season is just around the corner, and that means Max Verstappen, his 19 colleagues and all Formula 1 teams will once again have to adapt to new guidelines, a massive calendar, busier schedules and new rules on the track. In today's video, we'll outline all the changes for the upcoming season, including one change that could potentially make the races in 2024 a lot more exciting. But before we begin, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more fun and informative content. Let's get started with the video. Before we explore everything that's new in 2024, let's first briefly discuss what remains unchanged. Let's start with the reigning world champion Max Verstappen, because the prospects for him are still promising. For the F1 cars of 2024, there aren't many technical changes, where last season we saw some minor adjustments to elements such as the floor and the edges of the floor. This year we don't see any spectacular changes to the cars, except for the dull carbon fibre liveries. Where has all the colour gone? Come on! The lack of changes in the technical department is positive news for Max Verstappen, who tore up the field with his RB19 last season and doesn't need to worry that anything drastic will change here. But never say never, because McLaren made a decent comeback at the end of last season, and it's never wise to underestimate Ferrari and Mercedes. Especially Ferrari were very strong in qualifying in 2023. If they continue that trend into the Sunday races, then we can prepare ourselves for a really exciting season this year. The engines will remain the same until 2026. Additionally, Pirelli's rubber will also not change this season. However, there has been some discussion regarding the use of the number of power unit components. In early 2024, the FIA made a notable change. Each driver would only be allowed to use 3 power units, one less than in 2023. Considering that 2024 is a record-breaking season for F1 with 24 races, this move seemed incredibly logical, right? Of course not. And so that change was reversed a few weeks after the initial decision was made, back to 4 power units per driver. This only happens in Formula 1, right? What also remains unchanged are the number of drivers on the grid. All 20 drivers who completed the previous season will also be on the grid this coming year. Something that certainly won't be the case at the end of this season, because there are a whopping 13 drivers with expiring contracts. Lewis Hamilton is moving to Ferrari, Carlos Sainz is still looking for a seat, and if anyone is a fan for a good game of musical chairs, it's Helmut Marko. Alright, now it's time for all the things that are going to change in 2024, and we start with the most striking change, the name and style change of AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo. From 2024, that's Visa Cash App RB, which, let's be honest, doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, and Stake F1. Or Kick F1, since Stake is an online casino and is not allowed to advertise gambling at every Grand Prix. Hence the name Stake F1 will change to Kick F1 for several races this year. Both teams will at least arrive at the grid in Bahrain with fresh colours. Which of these teams do you think will perform better this season? Let us know in the comments. The following recent change will hopefully lead to more action on the track. The rules regarding the use of DRS are being overhauled. Starting from the race in Bahrain, DRS can be activated after just 1 lap. This means DRS will be in operation from lap 2 onwards. Therefore, it will be more challenging to establish a significant lead right from the start. For the first time in Formula 1 history, we have 24 races on the calendar. Last year, China and Imola were cancelled, but this year these 2 races will proceed as usual. Whether the mechanics are happy about it, that's doubtful, but the fact remains that we're entering a record year. 3 races will take place on a Saturday this year, and this is not without reason. The first 2 races of 2024 in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia will both take place on a Saturday with Ramadan in mind, which begins at sunset on Saturday, March the 9th, 2024, the day of the race in Saudi Arabia. As a result, the race in Bahrain also needs to be moved to Saturday. This is an indirect consequence of the start of Ramadan, because if the opening race were to take place on a Sunday, the F1 circus would have 1 less day to travel to Saudi Arabia. The 2 races might sound like they are close to each other, but in reality, the teams have to undertake a significant road trip of almost 15 hours by car. Having 1 less day for travel and setup time is definitely not desirable. Are you a fan of sprint races? Then pay close attention, because this format is changing yet again. Just like last year, there will be 6 sprint races. This year, they'll be held in China, Miami, Austria, Austin, Brazil, and Qatar. The sprint qualifying now takes place on Friday evening after the first practice session. On Saturday, we start the day with a sprint race, followed by the qualifying for the Grand Prix on Sunday. So qualifying returns to the same place as during a normal weekend, which was a wish of many people in the paddock. Are you happy with this modified sprint format, or would you rather see it disappear altogether? Let us know in the comments. This year, we won't see the qualifying format that was tested last year, where you had to drive Q1 on hards, Q2 on mediums, and Q3 on softs either. After the race in Qatar in 2023, a lot of drivers were completely exhausted, some were even close to fainting. Scenes like this probably won't happen again. There will now be measures at races in extreme conditions. Many drivers became unwell after the incredibly hot race in Qatar, so F1 approved a change in the technical regulations, allowing teams to add an air shaft in the cars to direct more air into the cockpit. Hopefully that will help a bit, because sitting in a cockpit with temperatures around 50 degrees Celsius and completing a Grand Prix distance will put the health of the drivers at risk. Starting this year, teams are allowed to cover 200 kilometers during filming days, which is 100 kilometers more than before. When driving with older cars, it's mandatory to use parts that have been previously used during a race weekend. This is to prevent these days from being used as extra testing days to try out new components. Pirelli will also conduct more test days for tyre testing, with 4 of them being dedicated to testing intermediate and full wet tyres. And that is quite necessary, because nobody is really satisfied with the current full wets. Pre-season testing days are now half an hour shorter each day this year. With 3 days of testing, this results in 1.5 hours less testing time than last year. If a team wants to fight injustice this season, they have to act quickly. The so-called right to review procedure has been revised by the FIA. This system is used to contest decisions. Want to submit a request? Well, you now have 10 days less to do so. Under the old rules, you had 14 days to respond, but from now on, you only have 4 days to initiate this procedure. And to top it off, a fee of €6,000 must be paid, and you will only get your money back if your review is approved. Everyone knows and loves these scenes. Monza and Zandvoort are always just a little bit more special. But flares and fireworks are banned by the FIA starting from now. What do you think of this decision? Do you think this should be allowed, or do you understand the reasons behind banning it? Let us know in the comments. All in all, 2024 promises to be an incredibly interesting year with changes that will benefit racing. Of course, the driver market is also under pressure, and hopefully we will see an exciting battle for the world title. Only time will tell which one of these changes will have the most impact on the upcoming season. Which of the aforementioned changes do you think will make the greatest difference? Leave a comment, we'll try to read every single one of them. So those are all the changes for the upcoming season. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video if you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you back soon. See you later.